actually wrote about him in my first book.
Uh-huh.
In the Pink Panther Confessions, it's the first love essay I wrote.
Oh.
Yeah. So he was the first.
Uh-huh.
My first real boyfriend.
Wait a minute. So you told me, you were telling me because he was what, quote unquote, he was a different ethnicity?
No, he was black.
Oh, he was black.
Because I lived in Chicago at the time. There weren't no white kids.
Okay.
Okay. And I will always love that guy.
Mm-hmm.
Always.
Talk about your first love.
He was my first love.
I know.
He was my first love.
Always remember.
My first boyfriend was white.
Okay.
And that was my senior year in high school. It took that long.
Mm-hmm.
And I went out with I went on a prom date 3 years in a row, but they were never my boyfriends because I wasn't allowed.
Yeah.
My senior year. And plus, boys just didn't ever really go there with me.
Why?
Well, I think they sensed that I was unavailable. I think they sensed that about me.
Mm-hmm.
And so they didn't even
Do you think
try.
that was your energy?
Mm-hmm. I was the good girl. I was the church girl. Everybody knew that.
Okay. Yeah.
And I was quiet. I wasn't outgoing at all. Very shy. And this guy that I ended up becoming his girlfriend, he was a white guy.
Mm-hmm.
We were in a show together. He's an actor. He is an actor. He still is. And he was the first one that asked me out.
Mm-hmm.
To do more than one date. He was the first.
Yeah.
I'll never forget this one guy who was a football star who had a crush on me the entire time I was there.
Oh.
Black guy, beautiful. And him coming up to me after I started dating Dirk was his name. After I started dating him, I know, isn't that as white as you can? And he is that white, yeah. And this guy asked me, he said, "What? We not good enough for you? We not good enough for you?" He cornered me I'll never forget it, on the stairway. I was like, "I have liked you since freshman year, and you have never said a word to me."
Well, you were honest.
Yes, I was.
Oh, wow.
Oh yeah.
Good for you.
Oh, I'm quiet, but don't ask me no questions, okay? I told him, I said, "I have liked you since freshman year. You have never said a word to me. So don't come up to me talking about my choices now." And he said, You're not the dating type, you're the marrying type." And I said, "Well, how do you become the marrying type if you never date me?" How? I said, "I would have dated you like that. I would have snuck and did it."
Shut him up. What did he say? Did he ever come back? Anything?
He kind of flushed.
Yeah.
He flushed and was like, well,
because he wasn't thinking, so let's just categorize what it is. He wasn't thinking like, they in high school, you got all kinds of girls. You got the girls you sleep with. This is who I'm going to have sex with.
Right.
This is who I know is going to be easy for me to have sex with. This is the girl I can go out and make, and she's going to be my arm piece, and she's going to look real good on my arm. And this is the girl I'm going to hold off on because I don't even want to touch her. And I'll marry her. I think she'll be my Mary. Somebody I want to marry later. So he already put you in that category. Oh, yeah.
Most of them do. And
which I don't like.
Me either.
But as we've gotten older, we found out this is how they think.
Yeah. And that's what I keep telling my daughter.
Yes.
Because she doesn't understand why nobody likes her.
Yeah. And it's not that they don't. They've
Exactly.
already put her in a category.
They've already put her
when you're that respectable, well, for you and I, we had dads, right? And the father set the tone. And if he's in the neighborhood you're growing up in, he's setting the tone for all the boys. Like my dad, you had to ask my dad permission to even call our house. If he said no, and it had nothing to do with what I wanted, you couldn't call our house. I could sneak in and meet you somewhere in the hallway or an elevator in New York. We were in buildings. So, but if we were outside and my father came home and he saw me and there was no space between me and him, then I was in trouble. I'd go upstairs. That wasn't allowed. But so date boys know who's the easy one, who's the easier one.
Right.
Where's the resistance? They don't want the resistance. They've already been schooled by their boys or their uncles or dads. You got to go with the least resistance.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm telling my daughter right now because she's the marrying type.
Yes.
And they you know, she's like, oh, my friends have boyfriends, and she's not allowed today. We're kind of following the same rules as my father when it comes to my daughter. Except
and because how old is she?
She's just turned 15.
Yeah.
So she's got one more year before she can start going on chaperone dates.
That's 16. So 16 she's got chaperone dates. Yeah.
Right. I was a senior.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Oh, yeah. I was so bad, Cynda. And I know that usually the religious thing and the Christianity, that wasn't it for me. I was just terrified of my father. And he was so strict that even when I became sexually active, started having sex, I used to look behind me thinking, or the doorway somewhere, he was coming his ass through the door and I was going to be in trouble forever. And I'm an adult, like grown.
Oh, I know. My father was the same way.
So it's like, yeah, you're 22 and I'm in this, I'm in this role and there's all this sexuality and all this sex going on. Where do you release yourself to even, because you're an actress, right? So that's
I'm an actress, and I will say this, and this is something I haven't really talked about, and I won't get too deeply into it, but I was a virgin when I did that part, and I told someone that I was a virgin, and because they were trying to hook up with me, and they kept pressuring me, I finally told them, and then they told other people, and the other people told other people, and I got in trouble for it.
For being a virgin or telling?
For being a virgin. Because how can you play this role? How can you be real if you've never had sex?
You've never experienced it.
And I'm like, if I'm playing a drug addict, do I have to do drugs? If I'm playing someone who commits suicide, do I have to jump off a building? I am an actress. I know it's hard to believe that someone can make you believe something without having done it, but I'm that girl.
Yes, and you're very believable.
I don't have to do that.
Yes.
So yeah, it was an issue with me. My whole moral thing was an issue with me, because especially from that point on, because I did so many sexual roles, so people assume that's who I am.
Yes. Well, and that's I've had in doing the podcast and talking with a lot of women, because we, this is the head-to-head with LSH, but I do this with groups of women. And one of the things that came up was sexuality, with particularly African-American women. And the one thing, I remember one of the guests saying, it was two and their best friends, they happened to come together. One in particular, very well endowed, but she said, since the time I was in middle school, I had big breasts. There was an assumption made, particularly I think in our culture, black culture, that because you have big breasts, because you look sexual, because you are sexy, or because you are sensual, there's an assumption that you are having sex. Right. And her best friend, who has her own sort of sexiness about her, same thing. I wasn't sexually active, but this was assumed. And then you have boys who are coming after you, or surprised, they make the assumption that you're already active, and then they're surprised when you tell them you're not, and then people are then pissed off because you're not, and then that's not what you're a part of. It's this thing with women, particularly black women. There's always this assumption, and it goes way back, that we're sexual creatures, we're over sexualized. We can't comfortably talk about it. And a lot of the women in the podcast have been affected by it differently. Either you're accusing me of something and I'm doing it, I'm not doing it, or nobody's explaining to me what it all means. If I have a nice size ass, or if I have big breasts, or whatever that I look like physically, it's not matching up with what's in my head. Just because I look like this doesn't mean that's what I'm thinking about, or that's what I even want to do. And so I think the more we talk about it, the more we better understand it. But I don't think a lot of us are actually even trying to make sense of it. This is just what it is.
It's funny. I mean, to this day, I'm 50 years old. I'm still dealing with haters that make those kind of assumptions about me. There's my friend, my guy friend, gets text messages talking about me. I mean, every horrible term for a woman you can imagine they use in the same sentence about me. Saying, how could you deal with someone like that? How could you be in a relationship with that Jezebel, that whore?
Where's the disconnect for them that you're an actress and this is your...
Well, I have been married 3 times, and and so they also assume from that,
Okay, there's a lot of men that have been married several times.
There's no reason for them to think it, except for it may not even be something they truly believe. It just might be something they're saying because they think they know who he is. Because he's a pretty religious guy.
Yeah, that may come from that.
I have always believed it's some woman that's in love with him that despises the fact that he's dealing with me, and so they think that this is what affects him, because they don't say this to me. They say it to him. They say it to him.
Well, yeah.
And
they want to throw him off his game or make him, create some issues with you too.
Yeah, but that's what they use. They don't use other things. They use my sexuality, which they don't know anything about.
No. Well, yeah, they seem like they want to rattle him. And as long as he knows you, he knows the real you. So
in the beginning, because they started as soon as we started seeing each other,
yeah,
these things started and haven't stopped since. And in the beginning, he didn't know me that well, and it did bother him.
What is he? What is he in turn? How does he deal with it? Is you have to be confident, I would think.
Yeah, I think that, and his concern now is he wants to know who it is. That's what he cares about more than anything, is finding out who it is and confronting them.
So it's an anonymous.
Yes, it's an anonymous person.
Wow. People go through all sorts of measures just to ruin somebody's life or happiness.
Yeah.
It's amazing. So what do you think, in terms of your career, just being, the woman you are where you are now, what do you think are been some of the highlights of your life and career and just overall?
My number one is my daughter. Definitely my daughter. My daughter, I think I'm a loving person. I try to, I give a lot. But no one gives me as much as I feel like I've given them except for her.
So unconditional love.
Totally unconditional love. Even when she's mad at me.
Well, yeah, they're going to get upset. Right?
Yeah. She's just a lovely, lovely person. And I feel so blessed with all the challenges and all the struggles, and I've had a lot. I always say, but I have my Sophia.
So she's your only?
She's my only.
How is your relationship with Sophia different than your relationship with your mom?
Well, with my mother...
And you know what I mean in terms of mother-daughter relationship.
Yeah, my mother and I have always been very close, but for a long time, I took care of her.
You took care of your mom?
I took care of my mom.
Even when you...
And I still do. I took care of my mom, and I still take care of my mom. My mother has had a very, very hard life, from being a white woman in a black world to being a woman that's physically challenged and handicapped, and dealing with depression and a lot of things. And then when she and my father broke up, it destroyed her. So I was always there for her in every way, and sometimes she was so sad she wasn't always there for me. But that's changed. She's one of my primary confidants now. Whereas Sophie and I always had boundaries for her. I'm the mother, you're my daughter. She's still afraid for me if she needs to be.
So when she crosses the line.
When she crosses the line, she knows she's crossed the line, and she backs up and she chills.
Right. Yeah.
But it's a lot of give and take. She's been, like today, I had an experience on the way over here that upset me. And she's the only person in the world that I'll break down in front of.
Ah.
And I'll break down in front of her, and I did. On the way over here, I had to stop and wipe my face. Because I was like, and I hate that sometimes because I don't want to put that on her. I don't want her to see me like that. But I've always been honest with her in every way.